This is the What the Ruck Rugby podcast with Angus Opperman.
So the Stormers decided to put their whole salary in one slot machine and the gamble didn't pay off. So what now for the Cape side? They didn't get a single point in the Champions Cup match against Racing and not a single point in the RC against Leinster, which were both going to be tough games. But at least there could have been some sort of shining light had they actually gone for a full strength team. I would say this team against Racing, and now they ended up with nothing. Still 12th on the table, very much in the risk of losing out of the top 8, which is a bit of concerning trend. Now you can see that it might be a case of the Stormers are qualifying for the knockouts this season. There's still a few home games to come, and that might help a bit. But if you can't win away from home, it's going to be a tough ask for anyone. I mean, looking at that match, I covered it, and I just got the feeling that we just hung in there. The score was flattening the first half, 15-7. It could have been 10-7. Then Dan Sheehan scored that try in the last minute before the half ended. And I think the shackles came off when the Stormers lost Manu Lubbock in the 38th minute due to injury. He's down with a knee injury at the moment. We don't know the extent of it as of yet. But then Warikala had to go from fullback to fly half. There was no cover on the bench. And I was said after the match that he takes full responsibility for it because very seldom Manu comes up. He normally plays the full 80. He rarely gets injured. And now it just so happened that in this match, the shackles came off and unfortunately it became, wouldn't say a blowout, but it was a bit of an embarrassing scoreline considering all those Irish guys that weren't available. So looking at the stats as per usual. Passes 182 to Leinster, 100 to the Stormers. Carries 122 to Leinster, 79 to the Stormers. Post-contact meters 208 to Leinster, 175 Stormers. Line break 76, which is pretty even. That's a pretty good stat, I would feel, but that also says that the Stormers couldn't capitalize on their line break opportunities. In 6 line breaks should lead you to a couple of points as well. Turnovers lost 12-17, so Stormers didn't win that department. And then the turnovers one was actually leveled 7-all. But again, like I said, it was those moments in the match in the first half, especially where they really wanted a pump and they just hung in there. And then Warwick would get a turnover. Whoever would get a turnover at the breakdown, win the penalty. But it was really just cracking up or covering the cracks, I should say. Basically the pressure that they were under. And eventually the pressure was going to turn on them. And it's exactly what happened. So, I don't have much to say in this video, to be honest, guys. I feel that the Stormers are very much in a downward spiral now. Selections have been questionable all season. Obviously, it didn't start well with the poor tour, and there was also questionable selections taking place there, and just maybe not the right game model for them to do what they wanted to do or want to achieve. It's worrying times. I mean, there's a couple of games coming up now, like I mentioned, at the DHL Stadium for the next couple of weeks, but it's all a lot of derbies away from home. It's going to be a match against I think Connacht and those guys, they will come to Cape Town this season, I think. So there might be a few wins, they might be without their Six Nations guys, and we might propel to the top 8. But even if we do, that will only mean we secure Champions Cup qualification, which we didn't take too seriously this season, I felt. And secondly, in the URC, Stormers have shown that they can't win away from home, even in the Champions Cup. They've only had one win this whole season in both competitions. And that was against Zebre, and also a bit of a struggle in that match in round 3. So, I think for the Stormers to basically, repeat their rogues from 2022, they need to start winning away from home for starters. And I think the only hope would be maybe making a top 4 and then sneaking into maybe getting an away win again in a local derby, say against the Lions or the Bulls or the Sharks, depending. It might come down to that as well. I know it's only just after halfway through the season. It's too early to talk about that. The best hopes now is to qualify, like I said, for the top 8 and hope for a local knockout match against either one of those 3 teams. And then hopefully, I would think they would hope that other teams might do them a favor and knock the other one out, so they don't have to travel overseas. But I don't see it happening. I see a regressing team, not on its knees, but it's getting there slowly. I see questionable decision making from players and coaches and selectors. And I'm not sure what the fix is. I know Harry mentioned a couple of stuff a couple of weeks ago, but I think it's a bit more than that. I think they need to probably think, what the plan is forward, how they're going to approach matches, especially overseas, because at the point in time, there's no clear strategy. And even if there is, it's not working. So it's a very short video today. It's a bit of a rant on my side as well. I didn't expect the Storms, after making two finals, to regress the way they have since that final we lost against Munster. So obviously next up is a big one against the Bulls, the 8th of February. 35,000 tickets sold as we speak at the time of this video recording, and it's always going to be a good one. It's always been a fortress, the HL Stadium for the Stormers. Seldom lose there. I think they lost like 5 games there ever, which is a very good stat. At least in the URC in the Champions Cup. I'm not talking about pre that, when they moved to the new stadium. But it's going to take a lot of them. What saved the Stormers, and I mentioned this in a couple of videos ago as well, is, and that's in the first season, they didn't travel that well either, but they got 2 wins initially, or 3, I think. But regardless, their local derbies made up for it. They already lost one to the Sharks. They still got to play the Lions away. They still got to play the Bulls away. So that could also change the dynamic if they can beat all those teams twice. That could help them a lot. And then, of course, win a couple of home matches. They might just sneak into the top 8. But at this point in time, I'm not the most optimistic fan at the moment. So yeah, guys, that's my rant. That's my video for this week. I'm not sure when I'll be back, which is a bit of a break this weekend. Probably in 2 weeks' time again for a bit of a preview of the Bulls game. But hope you guys had a good rugby weekend regardless. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers.
This is the What the Ruck Rugby podcast with Angus Opperman.